The first time I saw that jet, it looked like a wounded bird sitting under the rain with its belly open and its insides exposed. Mechanics in spotless white coveralls huddled around it like doctors who'd lost their nerve. And me, soaked hungry 15 trying to disappear behind a tool cabinet. Yeah, I was the last person anyone thought would matter. But that night in that hangar, everything I'd been carrying since my father died came out in 5 shaky words. If you permit, I will fix it. I hadn't planned on saving anyone. I was just looking for a dry place to sleep. 7 months on the streets had taught me how to slip into places unseen, how to keep my head down. My dad left me 3 things: his grease-stained notebook, the knowledge to fix any engine built in the last 40 years, and one piece of advice he never stopped repeating: machines never lie. They'll tell you what's wrong if you learn how to listen. But those million-dollar engineers hadn't listened. They'd run every diagnostic and still couldn't figure out why that Gulfstream's heart had stopped beating. And then I saw it from across the hangar, the angle of a shaft, just a couple millimeters off the kind of thing you feel in your bones if you've been raised among turbines. I opened my mouth before I could stop myself. Your N2 rotor isn't tracking true. I called out, my voice so small against all that metal. Every head turned. The billionaire at the center of the storm narrowed his eyes. What did you say? I swallowed hard. If you permit, I will fix it. Laughter. Engineers smirking, a mechanic joking about street rats fixing airplanes. His wife sneering like I'd crawled out from under a rock. Even his son, hair-perfect blazer dry, while I stood dripping, whispered, "Dad, this is embarrassing." But the billionaire Marcus Hawthorne in my retelling didn't laugh. He studied me with a kind of cold curiosity. "You know about jet engines?" he asked. "I know about this one," I said. And for a moment it was just the two of us, the empire builder and the homeless kid, both testing the limits of their own guts. He gave me one chance to be right or be gone. So I rolled up my sleeves, asked for a dental mirror, a torque wrench calibrated to inch-pounds, and got to work. Up close, that engine was more beautiful than any cathedral. I ran my hand over the casing, feeling temperature differences the sensors had missed. "Warmer than it should be," I murmured. The older mechanics raised eyebrows. The younger ones tried to peek at my notebook. But my father's handwriting was mine now, a secret language of harmonics and clearances. At first, the job felt almost holy. Me loosening the coupling, Marcus holding the alignment gauge, the two of us leaning over metal worth more than most houses. "Press firmly, but don't force it," I said. "You'll feel when it's right, like a key sliding into a lock." He actually listened, and I started to see flickers of the man he might have been before the money and the bodyguards. Then came the second layer: sabotage. Fresh scratches on a fuel line that hadn't been there before. Wrong-rated relief valves hiding in the parts bin. A torque wrench calibrated 15% off. It hit me in a rush. Somebody was trying to kill him, and they wanted it to look like my repair caused the crash. I'd seen this kind of thing before, just on a smaller scale. My father lost his job because someone faked a mechanical error to push him out. I wasn't about to let history repeat itself on a grander stage. It all spiraled fast. Youth services showed up to drag me off. His rival happened to be in the building with a ready-made rescue team. A mechanic confessed he'd been threatened. And then Marcus and I were in the maintenance tunnels chasing a man named Mitchell, who'd kidnapped a child to force sabotage. We found him at a locked door, gun shaking in his hand, trying to bluff his way out. "Stay back," he yelled. "You don't understand. This isn't about you, Hawthorne." My voice cut through the echoing tunnel. "You're sweating wrong," I said. He blinked. "What?" "My dad taught me to read engines. The streets taught me to read people. You're scared, not in control. You don't have Emma. Someone else does." And that tiny wedge of truth broke him. Marcus lunged, the gun skidded. Mitchell went down, and within the hour, the little girl was safe. Back in the hangar, I rebuilt the engine with a chain of custody worthy of the FBI. Every part photographed, bagged, signed. 3 other jets in his fleet showed similar sabotage, a whole network hiding behind maintenance contracts. By dawn, federal agents were hauling people off in cuffs, and I was still turning wrenches' sleeves soaked with oil and sweat because the work wasn't done yet. It wasn't just about fixing an engine anymore. It was about exposing a system. When the inspectors arrived skeptical and unimpressed, I met their questions head-on. "How do you know the loosening sequence?" one asked. "Because Rolls-Royce based it on an old Pratt & Whitney pattern reversed every 3rd bolt," I said. "If you know the history, you know the pattern." He just stared. And Marcus, standing beside me, looked like he'd forgotten to breathe. We prepped for the test flight under tighter security than Fort Knox. Bomb Squad found a hydraulic line cutter in the landing gear, 2 more devices hidden in the avionics bay and fuel tank. Each time my stomach knotted, another trap avoided by inches. But I kept going, inspecting every bolt by hand. Hands and eyes, I told the team, not just scanners. Even his son Preston got his hands dirty cataloging parts and learning what real work felt like. At one point, 3 girls from my old shelter showed up at the hangar door, eyes wide. "We heard about her," one said. "Could we learn too?" And I saw a glimpse of a future my dad would have loved. The day of the flight, the air was so clear it felt like a dare. Captain Sullivan, a pilot with 30 years' scars in his voice, shook my hand. "I've never seen documentation like yours," he said. We started the engines first, a whisper, then a hum, then a roar that filled the hangar. The data stayed green across every screen. The plane lifted 30 tons of aluminum and dreams into a blue sky. For a moment, I felt like I was up there too, flying for both me and my father. But even then, I caught a wrong note, a subtle harmonic shift that told me something foreign had been hidden in the engine months ago. We brought the plane back, found a tiny piece of engineered metal designed to fail at altitude. 4th layer sabotage. That was the moment the FBI realized we weren't just looking at corporate rivalry, but an entire trafficking network, using private jets as cover. Arrests rolled in like dominoes. A senator resigned, a CEO went down, and my father's notebook greased coffee stains, and all became Exhibit A in rewriting an industry. Months later, the If You Permit program launched with 20 kids from backgrounds like mine. We taught them engines don't care about your past, only your respect and your knowledge. Marcus funded apprenticeships. Preston learned to fly. And me, I got a contract, a real paycheck, and a small apartment at Judge Washington's house. No more shelters. No more hiding. The night we graduated our first class, I walked back to the very jet that started it all. They call it the Phoenix now for how it rose from sabotage and fire. I put my hand on its engine, Cowling felt the cool metal and whispered, "Thank you, Dad." Not just for the skills, but for the stubborn belief that a kid like me could matter. But the story isn't wrapped in a bow. Even as the FBI dragged people off, Grant's last words still echo. "This goes deeper than you know." I'm just one player. And the truth is, engines might not lie, but people still do. We found hidden compartments in 17 planes. We found maintenance contracts rewritten to mask trafficking. We found a system built on the assumption that no one would look too closely. And we only looked because a hungry, soaked girl refused to stay invisible one rainy night. So now, when I'm teaching a new kid to listen for harmonics, I tell them, this isn't just about machines. It's about finding the courage to step forward when no one invites you, about saying, "If you permit," even when everyone's laughing. Because sometimes that's all it takes to break a cycle. And I wonder, if you're listening right now, who have you overlooked? Who's out there with grease-stained notebooks and unheard skills waiting for a chance to fix what's broken? Maybe in your company, your school, your neighborhood, maybe in your own family. Tell me in the comments, do you believe talent like that should be recognized, even if it comes in the wrong package? Have you ever seen someone written off only to shock everybody with what they could do? And what do you think is more dangerous, a broken machine or a system that breaks people on purpose? Let's talk about it. Because engines never lie, but sometimes we still need someone brave enough to listen.